In these bizarre days that we are living through, I have spent more and more time wrestling in my mind with a dilemma. And I hadn't quite heard it put as well as my recent podcast guest, Dr. Natasha Bouillon from One Medical, put it. Listen to how she puts this paradox of behavior that we all face, especially these days.
We love to meet fear with facts, but fear is an emotion. Fear is a feeling. And so we need to actually meet fear, a feeling, with more feeling. And I think that's where we sometimes have a gap, is when we're talking to people about sensitivities of tests and transmission rates with masks. People aren't hearing us if they're scared.
What are we to do when we encounter someone who is afraid, anxious, upset? Well, Dr. Bouillon points that all too often we do try to meet that emotion with facts and figures in order to prove to the person that they should feel more at ease, because we're essentially showing them the right things. The fact is, when you are able to meet emotion with another appropriate emotion, an emotion that respects what's going on in the conversation, that you are going to raise the chances that the relationship will become stronger and at a level of trust, which is so critical to any relationship. The entire situation will be much better off. When you really think about it, though, this has been a dilemma that people have faced for a long time, and not only in the medical industry. This was commented on years ago by a now famous neurologist by the name of Donald Calm. Dr. Calm put it, I thought, very simply. He said, "The essential difference between emotion and reason is that emotion leads to action, while reason leads to conclusions." So let's be clear. What is it that we want in our relationships? Do we want to just touch upon the notion that we have reached some conclusion? No, we invest in relationships so that hopefully some forward action, some different direction and feeling can come from these conversations. And that's what we're talking about here by using the right kind of feeling. Now, why does this happen, though? I think when we can explore for a moment what the possible cause is of this over-reliance, I would call it, on facts, I think we can then begin to understand what might be some ways to actually bring this into your conversations. For what it's worth, and I always do say that, my thinking is that this bringing facts to the front, as I call it, comes from the need for being safe from discomfort. That you, as the fact user, with the graphs and the charts and quoting something that you saw on the news, all is out of being safe and, most importantly, not being wrong. I mean, after all, emotion by nature is a far less tangible place to stand. Opening yourself up by greeting emotion with emotion initially will feel and can feel unsafe and therefore, as we've said, wrong. But pause for just a second as you rush to those sets of facts. The facts are always going to be there for the discussion. I'm not implying at all that conversations should be factless. There is just a strategy and a thoughtfulness that you need to bring by placing emotion as the foundation and then supporting it later in the conversation with the appropriate facts and, frankly, further emotion. If your intention at the end of the proverbial day is to express a real caring for each other and a sense that we are in this together, find a place of empathy. And empathy does not mean that you agree with what the person is going through. It means that you are attempting to connect and to understand and to show understanding for what they're going through. Now, how do you do this? It is a tried and true piece of my advice, is to let the other persons talk more than you're talking. That automatically raises a sense of empathy. And whenever possible, regardless of the situation, be as encouraging and as optimistic as you possibly can be. Then you will have begun to, as Dr. Bouillon encouraged us and noted, you will have begun to do the right and important work, especially these days, of meeting feeling with feeling.